17.
All right, so we've been talking about checking accounts as applied to like a business structure. Today we're going to talk first about like what they call dishonored checks. It's like bouncing a check. So a check that a bank refuses to pay is called a dishonored check. A check dishonored by the bank because of insufficient funds in the account of the maker of the check is called a non-sufficient funds check, or NSF check. So when you say bounce the check, that's what you mean. It means that there wasn't enough money in your checking account for the bank to honor that check. In a personal checking situation, oftentimes the bank will honor that check for you. They'll assess you a fine and then like charge you a negative balance, and you're unable to do anything else until you've kind of rectified that. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Oh, hold on.
Oh, was it wrong?
He's absent today. From our side. You must know. If you see him later, he seems like he makes it in the second half of the day, but mornings are tough. They're tough for us all, right? All right. So, as an example, let's say that this is the check stub for some dishonored check. So notice how we've recorded this. We've given the title dishonored check onto the other piece. The total of the amount of the dishonored check. And then we calculate our new subtotal. Now, to record a dishonored check in our journal, let's say that this is the transaction information we're provided. Received notice from the bank of a dishonored check from Valley Landscaping. That means they bounced us a check, right? Plus $40 fee, totaling $225, memorandum 52. So the accounts receivable has a debit of $225 and cash has a credit of $225. So we date, title, and debit, and then record the credit. And then, of course, we need a source doc. Okay? Hi, Luco. So a lot of modern banking is done electronically without the use of like a paper currency or a written check. You're just doing like direct deposits or fund transfers. So we call that an EFT for electronic fund transfer. So if you pay with a debit card or you set up an automatic withdrawal from your bank account to pay some recurring monthly bill, or you just pay with your checking account number, like some places, like when you pay your tuition at school, one of the ways you can do that is just by using your checking account number and not actually dealing with a credit card or writing a physical check. You just give the account number and the routing number, and they do an electronic transfer. So to record that, let's say we paid cash on account to Murniak Enterprises in the amount of $380 using an electronic fund transfer, and we record that on a memorandum. So the accounts payable has a decrease of $280 or $380. Cash goes down $380. So we record this in our journal, the date, title and debit, and then the credit. And then, of course, we need a source doc. Okay here. So one thing that I want to point out here after grading the last round of tests, so on these journal transactions, when you record them, you can have a debit and credit piece. When you record that into a ledger, you do not get debit and credit pieces on the same transaction, because the cash account is only recording what's happening here. For the accounts payable, Murniak Enterprises only recording what's happening here. So you're not going to get like equal debit and credit sides. When you record this stuff into your ledger, I saw a lot of problem with that on the last test. I mean, some of us were fine. We got it. But I wanted to point that out since we're here and we're writing stuff in the journal again. All right, journalizing a debit card transaction. So a bank card that automatically deducts the amount of purchase from a checking account of the cardholder is called a debit card. Again, you can use a debit card much in the same way you would write a check, or you would use a credit card. It's just the funds deducted immediately from the checking account rather than to some third-party bank that you then have to pay later as with a credit card. And it's a lot easier and simpler than doing an electronic funds transfer. But typically aren't intended to handle like massive amounts of money as an electronic fund transfer might. Like if you're buying a house and you're borrowing like hundreds of $1,000s from the bank and putting that into your, temporarily into a bank account that then you're paying to the owner of the home that you then have to pay the bank back the mortgage on. Typically, you're not going to pay that kind of thing with a debit card, like hundreds of $1,000s. That's an electronic funds transfer situation. Anyway, so to record our debit card, our transaction says we purchased $75 in supplies using that debit card, and we wrote up a memorandum to record that. So our supply is a debit of 75, cash is a credit 75. So again, we record the date, the title and the debit amount, the credit amount, and then document that with the source doc number. So far, so good. So the reasons why a bank may dishonor a check. Check appears to be altered. It's like a situation of a fraud where it looks like somebody tried to make $10, $10,000 or something. The signature on the check does not match the signature on the signature card. So it looks like there's some fraud taking place another way. The amounts written in figures and in words do not agree. The check is post-dated, meaning that the date on the check reads like December 5th, and today's November 5th. It's like, well, we can't cash this. Dated in the future. The person who wrote the check has stopped payment on it. think that's obvious, right? And then the account of the person who wrote the check has insufficient funds to pay the check. The most common is 6, right? What account is credited when electronic funds transfer is used to pay cash on account? So you're paying cash on account. Where is the credit applied? Cash. Well done. Very cool on that. What account is credited when a debit card is used to purchase supplies? Cash, right? Does it matter how you're paying for something? Unless it's being invoiced or whatever. You're paying cash, whether you're using actual physical currency, or you're writing a check, or using a debit card, or making an electronic fund transfer, the credit is still going to cash. Feel okay? All right. Let's pop into the. Well, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to pause and do the work together one at a time, or do you just want to do them both back to back? Well, we're going to try to do 5-3 and 5-4 today. So would you rather stop and do the 5-3 work together before we start 5-4, or do you just want to do 5-4 and then just do the work togethers back to back?
Let's do 5-3 and then pause.
Okay. So we just did 5-3. So we'll do the work together then. That's what you're saying? Okay. That is okay. So again, if you have your tablet with you and you want to pull it out and use it to follow along, and I always like to do it this way. What happened? Waiting for signal my foot. What do you mean waiting for signal? Thing's plugged in. Well, it's a cable. It's literally plugged in and it's like a cable. How's it? What do you mean waiting for a signal? It was just, you were just connected 2 seconds ago. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, I'm done with you for today. We're doing it the old-fashioned way. Back up then. All right. Everybody that's interested in following along, have you guys opened up the 5-3 work together? All right. Directions. Recording dishonored checks, electronic fund transfers, and debit card purchases. Instructions. Enter the transactions on page 15 of the journal. So I'll go to page number and write 15 in there right away before I forget it. Note if there's no value to be entered, blah, 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 leave it blank, right? All right, our transaction, August 18th is the first one, so let's do that, August 18, and then we have 20 and the 21st. Might as well write those in there.
Received notice from the bank of a dishonored check from Christine Iverson, $126 plus a $25 fee totaling $151. Memorandum number 312. Okay. What is this here? This is accounts receivable, Christine Iverson. Memorandum is M312. And this was a debit to the general 151 and a credit to cash 151, I think. Good. Okay. Everybody's good so far? Okay. Paid cash on account to Schwartz Enterprises, $270 using an EFT, electronic fund transfer memorandum M13. So that's accounts payable, M313. Here our debit is 270, and we credit to cash 270. And then the last one is purchase supply, $62 using a debit card memorandum M314. And we're good. Everybody's okay? So in each account, or in each instance, the debit appeared in the general account and the credit appeared in cash, right? Those were super easy, right? Or relatively, I mean, at least pretty straightforward. Maybe if it's not easy, it's like, that is, oh my God, come on here now, guy. Go. So get rid of you. Are we not gonna get rid of you? Okay, got rid of you. Bring you back up. And we want to do this. And why are we confused? Oh my gosh. That or something. Will that do it? Okay, well, it's not showing me this, showing you guys the screen I want it to, but like whatever, close enough you can see what's going on, right?
Right.
All right, we're just gonna go. Because quite frankly, at this point, the technology's got me, my gears fully grinded here. So this next section is about petty cash. So do you guys know what petty cash is? Okay, so if you're a business, sometimes you just keep like cash in a box in the office where it's like, hey, Bob, we're out of copy paper. Run to Staples, buy some copy paper. Here's $40 or something. Buy some paper and come back. That's petty. I'm going to hand him $40 in cash out of the desk. I'm going to write down what I did with it. He's going to bring me back a receipt. I'm going to put that in the cash box. And at the end of the month, I'm going to make sure that, you know, the amount of money I've given out to do like random business errands matches up, right? So that's the idea. So typically at like the start of each month, we'll refresh the petty cash. We'll put, you know, back up to whatever the level is we usually keep on hand. Maybe it's $100 or something. And we'll record like, okay, did the amount going out that I have receipts for match the missing cash. But that's the idea. Everybody's cool with the plan? You get what it's for, why you kind of need it, just for like random stuff. So you don't have to like write a check to go have Bob fill up the truck with gas or something, or like the job ran late and you buy your crew lunch, or whatever. You can just use petty cash or whatever for that. All right. So the first thing you'd want to do is you want to establish the fund. So the amount of cash kept on hand for using and making small payments is called petty cash. So again, debit is when money comes in, credit was money goes out. So to establish that fund, to journalize that, so it's the transaction would read paid cash to establish a petty cash fund. Use check number 8. So the petty cash receives $100 in cash. Your cash account loses $100 in cash. So the debit is to petty cash. The credit is to cash. So when we record that transaction, record the date, the account title and amount. So petty cash $100. The credit goes to cash because we used actual money to establish this fund. And then we record that document, in this case, check number 8, as our source doc. Everybody feel good? So this is just how we record that we put some money in a box for later. Usually it's in a little lock box in the office somewhere. Okay. Making payments from a petty cash fund with a petty cash slip. So what these petty cash slips are is they show proof of the petty cash payment. So in this case, it's just like kind of like a check stub is the way to think about it, or like a receipt. It says on January 19th, I paid Dispatch $14 for a newspaper ad. This should be billed to the accounting expenses, and the approval is signed by, in this case, our owner-operator, Michael Delgado. So basically, it's kind of like a check stub, right? You guys feel good about that?
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. Again, the whole point is just kind of keeping track of where everything is. So we have like a paper trail of where this money went to, so that, Jan in the secretary office isn't, pulling money from petty cash to pay, like get her nails done. Not that somebody would do that, but a petty cash on hand amount that is less than the recorded amount is called a cash short. That means that you're missing some money that's supposed to be there. A petty cash on hand amount that is more than the recorded amount is called a cash over. That means you have more money there than you're supposed to. Says the custodian prepares a petty cash report when the petty cash fund is to be replenished. So the custodian there, we don't mean the janitor. We just mean who's in charge of the petty cash box. So oftentimes that's like an office manager, or, like the boss, or sometimes it's like, the boss's secretary, or their, like the office manager, or could be like, like the person that manages the garage or something, if the petty cash is for the people that work at the garage. Could be, like whoever that individual is. It doesn't have to be. It is often not the accountant that's in charge of the petty cash. All right. So what your petty cash report looks like, you start by writing the date in which you are about to do the petty cash replenishment. So in this case, that's January 31st, the end of the month. Pretty typical. And the custodian's name, the person in charge of the petty cash box. In this case, it's the owner-operator. You begin with the fund total. That's how much money was in the petty cash box at the start of the month since the last replenishment. You record the payments made from petty cash. So we had a miscellaneous expense of $20, an advertising expense of $14. We total that up. The total payments were $34. So the recorded amount of cash on hand, we should have had $66. When I opened up the petty cash box and I counted, I found, I only have $65. So in this case, we have a cash short of $1, which means to replenish the petty cash, I need $35 total to put back in to get us back to the $100 we want to keep on hand at the start of every month. Where did that $1 go? Who knows? Maybe I handed somebody $15 to pay for the advertising expense and they forgot to give me the change back. Maybe, like I bought a pack of gum. Michael Delgado bought a pack of gum, forgot to put a receipt in for it, or had to pay like a parking meter and use petty cash to do it and forgot to, probably oopsie-daisied. Everybody's okay? Or maybe one of these things was actually $21 and we wrote down the wrong amount because we forgot. We lost the receipt and we just guessed at what it was and you couldn't remember. Who knows? So when replenishing the petty cash, we need to record the cash short or over and record it as a debit when cash is short and a credit when cash is over. So if the and then the account balance, again, either a debit or a credit. Typically, it's going to be a credit. Typically, typically it's a debit. You're going to be putting money back into the petty cash. Very rarely are you crediting petty cash where you have more than you're supposed to in there. And you have to pull some out. But every once in a while that happens. The petty cash fund is more likely to be short than over. Okay? So again, it's going to be a debit into petty cash when you need to put money back in. It's a credit when you're removing some money from it, if you have too much. So let's look at an example of how to kind of reconcile this now. So this transaction says paid cash to replenish the petty cash fund, $35. Miscellaneous expense, $20. Advertising, $14. Cash short and over $1. We use check number 11. So in our journal, we have a debit to the miscellaneous expense, debit to advertising expense, debit to cash short and over, and then a credit to cash of $35. So again, these things weren't recorded anywhere because I didn't pay with a check. I didn't use an invoice. They weren't recorded in my journal until I replenished the petty cash and saw that there were like payments in there, right? So these didn't get recorded when they happened. They're getting recorded when I replenished the petty cash. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. So again, we would record the date, the account titles that are being interacted. So in this case, miscellaneous expense, advertising expense, and then the always cash short and over if that exists. And we record the quantities there. So a $20 debit, a $14 debit, and a $1 debit. Be careful on the cash short or over. In this case, it is a debit of $1 because we're short. If we had too much money, that would go in the rare credit column. And then we record the overall credit, the $35 check we wrote to replenish petty cash back to the $100 we like to have at the start of the month. And we recorded the source document. Again, we said we used check number 11. So the number 11 kind of came in there. And my suspicion is that the order that we record these in our journal should be the same order as they appear on the petty cash replenishment report here. So miscellaneous expense was first, advertising expense second, cash short last. The same order we'll keep down here on our journal. Okay. This feels like this is in the wrong section. Know your audience and what you want. Oral communication of accounting information. This seems out of place. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to run through these slides this morning like I usually do and look for things like that. Anyways, businesses use petty cash for small payments for which writing a check or doing a wire transfer or whatever is not time or cost effective. Like it costs money to write a check. Like they're not free technically. You pay for your checks. It's usually not much. It's like cents for a check, but it's money. And then the last one is why is cash rather than petty cash credited when a petty cash fund is replenished? It's because the check used to issue the petty cash comes out of cash, not petty cash, right? It's coming out of your bank account. Everybody feel cool? All right. Let's stop this guy then. Thanks. Okay. You can go away. You can come back. Let's look at the 5-4 work together. We'll buzz through this. Sound good? So again, if you have your tablet open and with you, I invite you to follow along and we'll do this together. So we're looking at the 5-4 work together right now. The directions state, establishing and replenishing petty cash fund. Once you've completed your entries, click grade this step to receive a grade for your work and to activate and advance to the next step. Instructions, prepare a petty cash report for November 30th. Okay, I'm going to write that down already. November 30th of the current year using the following information. Amount in fund, $200. Petty cash slips reported a payment of $24 for postage expense and $20 for miscellaneous expense. The total or the actual amount in the petty cash box is $154. Use November 30th of the current year as the date. Note, fields requiring a custodian signature, enter your signature by typing the following, my signature. So my signature. Everybody feel good so far? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Total payments was 44 monies. So the amount to replenish from there is 44 monies. If I do 44 minus 200 minus 44, I get 156. Uh-oh. We're $2 short. Or I'm sorry, $2 short. So that needs to be accounted for. That's a short. So we need 46 monies to do this. To replenish. Everybody feel good on how we checked that? Yes.
Why do we need 46? Oh, because that's how much.
That's right.
That's how much was missing anyway. We only spent 44. $2 seems to have disappeared. It was probably Bill's gum addiction. Yeah. All right, grade that step. And then we can proceed to the next one. Now we're going to journalize these transactions. So it says, once you've completed your entries, click grade this step to receive. Oh, we did that. Instructions, journalize the transactions related to petty cash completed during November of the current year. Use page 22 of the journal. I'm going to go ahead and write that down right now so I don't forget about it. The abbreviation for check is C. Note if there's no value to be entered, blah, 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 leave it blank. All right. Petty cash report. So start with the date, November 30th.
So not November 1st.
We use the date from the petty cash report.
Oh, I was looking at the.
Yeah, so the transactions aren't recorded until we do the petty cash replenishment. So they sit in like limbo there, so to speak. So we said we use check number, did it say in here? Oh, it's probably in the transactions, huh? C64. Oh, I see. Oh, we have that first. Okay. So let's do that first. You're right. Well, we have to do this petty cash, right? So C64. This next one is going to be C86. I see. So petty cash is debited 200. Cash is credited 200. And then on the 30th, we have to do our petty cash report. So we're crediting cash $46. And that $46 is going into a postage expense for $24, a miscellaneous expense for $20, and then a cash short or over for $2. Is everybody okay with what I did there? I guess we should check that. Oh, good. You guys feel good about how we did everything? So that first line was the establishment of the petty cash fund. Apparently, November was the first, was the establishment of the fund in general. But there we go. Everybody cool?
What?
What's up, Joe?
What goes in number 4?
Cash short and over. So the petty cash report tells me everything I need, Joe Lancy. So I have postage expense, miscellaneous expense, and then the cash short and over is the other thing that's coming out, right? So I have to look at what are the things being subtracted or added from the report, and that tells me what to put where and how much. Sure, submit. Hey, good job, Mr. Kulik. You did it again. What do you guys think? It's all right? Again, I think that this chapter considerably simpler than the previous one. But that'll wrap up our plans for today. We have about 20 minutes remaining. You guys should work on your chapter 5 stuffs. So 5.3 and 5.4 today, or if you have earlier things that you need to still get caught up on, like start running that race, get off that treadmill, like get caught back up here. Remember, what do you do if you finish something old that's already been graded, marked missing or incomplete? You got to email me to make sure I go back and look for it. I get no notifications about things getting done without that.
Total payments is these two added up. Oh, shit.